we go. Unfreaking believable. Unbelievable. I gotta be honest with you. That game drove me nuts. I cannot believe the Buccaneers lost that game. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Tough one. Man, that was an absolute blazer from the Cougs, wasn't it?
What a crazy game. The Bulls are bowl bound for the third season in a row. An incredible performance.
And listen, we know the competition. They did what they had to do.
No more silver linings. No more moral victories. It was put up or shut up time. And boy, did they rise to the occasion.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Happy March 24th, 2026. We are live here at Benchmark International Arena ahead of tonight's matchup with the Minnesota Wild. There's still a bunch of guys on the ice for morning skate for the Wild. We didn't have a lot of guys on the ice for the Bolts. Standard after the long road trip. Sleeping. We got a bunch of games coming up. A 7-game homestand. It's going to be a little bit later tonight. A 7:30 puck drop here at Benchmark, and the game is on TNT. So it's not on Scripps, it's on TNT. So it's a national game tonight between your Tampa Bay Lightning and the Minnesota Wild. What a show we have for you today. We were going to be joined by our good friend Julie Stewart-Binks, but we know that there's some big news when it comes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There is a press conference scheduled for 2 o'clock today with Buccaneers legendary linebacker Lavonte David. After 14 seasons in the National Football League, will he call it quits? We'll find out at 2 o'clock today. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk some Lavonte here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to break and we're going to kind of sign off around 1:20, 1:30 today. And then if he does retire at 2 o'clock, we'll have an emergency broadcast, emergency podcast alert right here. I'm going to stay in the suite here at Benchmark International Arena. We'll go back live at 2 o'clock if he announces his retirement. Now, when you think about it, could he have an announcement today and say, hey, I am going and having a year-long retirement tour like we saw with John Cena, Kobe Bryant? Maybe, but I think he's going to call it quits. So we'll talk more about that here in a couple of minutes. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Every little bit helps, guys and girls. A big thank you to our partners, Honest Hammer and Evra Health. Those guys are the best. Looks like we're signing on for another rotation with these guys. I cannot wait to continue this. That's the only way we're going to keep this thing rolling. Our partners, we got more partnerships in the queue, and then also our super chats. Whatever you guys can do. $1, $2, $5, $10, $20. We saw Richie P donate $50 a couple of weeks ago. Every little bit helps. That's the way that we're going to keep this show on the road. Let's keep this thing rolling, man. I cannot wait to do my podcast every day at noon. When you're watching right now on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter /X, kill that like button, man. Every single like, every single share certainly helps. Again, I cannot do this without you. We are live here from the arena. I spoke to Gage Gonsalves a little while ago. We'll play that quick one-on-one with him at about 12:20 today. At 12:30, Andy Freed from Rays Radio is going to join us to preview the upcoming 2026 Rays season. We unfortunately saw some not so great news a little while ago. Ryan Pepio placed on IL with hip inflammation, so he'll be unavailable to start the season. We know Drew Rasmussen will be on the bump for Tampa Bay to start the year. But man, with Pep being out, and we know Taylor Walls is out, it's Gavin Lux is out, and not a great way to start the season. I've been saying this the last couple of weeks. The Rays need to start hot because the AL East is a bear. It might be the best AL East we've seen in a while. So the Rays cannot fall behind. You can't win the division in April, but you can certainly lose it. So you want to make sure you can come out of the gates hot. We'll speak to Andy Freed at 12:30, and he'll give us his 2 cents on what he thinks the Rays need to do to be successful in the first quarter of the season. Also, later on in the program, is it an end of an era here in Tampa Bay? It's kind of sad to think about that, knowing that Mike Evans is already on his way out. He's in San Francisco now. What happens with Lavonte David? Again, that announcement comes at 2 o'clock today, and we will sign off at about 1:20, 1:30, and then we'll pop back on it too if that announcement is made. Again, could it be one of those things where he comes out and says, hey, this is going to be, I'm here to announce that this is my last year. Okay. Then a lot of people are going to say, well, you could have just done that on an Instagram post. But I think he's going to call it quits. We'll go live at 2 o'clock. That is for sure. Again, questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom of the screen. Our guy DT, David Terry, Jay, we got a tough one tonight, especially coming off a long road trip. Hopefully we can get at least a point out of it. Hope you're not wearing the seafoam kicks. Nope, the tie is red and pink today. And the shoes are, boom, we're rocking with the pinks today, ladies and gents. So we're back with the suit. We're back with the kicks. We're back in action, baby. Jay Recher, baby. Here we go. Janet Best, early congrats to Lavonte David. You got that right. Tony Tega, thank goodness. No more West Coast hockey time slots. I like it every once in a while. Louis, what a crazy offseason. Louis, sorry I couldn't join you, buddy. It's been a tough week. Parents were in town, but we'll definitely get on with you here in the next couple of weeks. The sweet life with Jay Recher is true. Oh, 54, it's safe to say that with the Bucs signing another ILB less than 24 hours ago, he's likely fixing to hang him up. Louis, do I think the Buccaneers are a Super Bowl team? No, but I will say this. They are now underdogs with a chip on their shoulder. I like the way Baker plays with that mentality. Also, Mike Evans leaving is not a bad thing. A lot of people forget they have a talented wide receiver room. My guy, Frank Reyes. What's going on, Frankie? Great job as usual, my friend. Yes, I think Lavonte David will retire. I think the Bucs are going younger. They probably need to, buddy. You probably need to. A big shout out to the Frankie Reyes, Adam Reyes, and the whole Reyes family. Great people. Fantastic referees. Frankie, you shouldn't have been a wrestling referee, brother. You should have been a basketball or football. These guys are terrible. If the Reyes boys were out there, we'd have better officiating across the board. And Greg DeCruz with the comment of the day with Evans and David Gunn. I think Jay Recher should be one of the murals at Ray J. Thank you, Greg. You are the best. Another debt piece. I think you mean depth, Rolly, but I got you for the Buccaneers. And that was the big signing yesterday. And we saw the Buccaneers signing former Panthers linebacker Christian Rosenboom to a 1-year deal. Now, we know what they did earlier in the offseason, signing Alex Anzalone, former Florida Gator, former Saint, former Lion. Now you have a guy in Christian Rosenboom who had 122 tackles for the Panthers last season. This is a guy that was an undrafted free agent. You want to talk about playing with a chip on their shoulder. I always noticed him when he was out there. And when you think about it, this is a guy that can go sideline to sideline and really help out your defense. And when you look at him and Anzalone, you need that. I've been saying this since the beginning of the offseason. Throw numbers at the linebacker position, throw numbers at the edge rusher position. You need as many people as humanly possible to fortify your two weakest spots on your defense and probably on your entire team. So I know a lot of people were looking at that Christian Rosenboom signing and saying, well, what does that mean for Lavonte David? And it's pure speculation when that signing goes down yesterday. But now that you hear that Lavonte has a press conference at 2 o'clock today, it gets you thinking, all right, well, could this be it? Is this it for Lavonte David? And signing two inside linebackers, you still have Stavase Dennis. What happens with Lavonte? I think it's probably time to hang him up. Now, I say this with the utmost respect. Again, Lavonte, not just one of the best players in Tampa Bay sports history, but one of the best men in Tampa Bay sports history. A fantastic human being and a model example. Remember the Buccaneers, you want to be a Buccaneer guy. You want to model yourself on and off the field. Lavonte David is that dude. But not a lot of people don't want to say this, but it's not been pretty all the time on the field the last couple of seasons for Lavonte. Some of the tread has certainly worn off the tires. And this was a guy that throughout his career has been known to come up with huge plays when the team has needed them, whether it's forced fumbles, recovered fumbles, interception returns. He's done a little bit of everything for this team on defense. And it'll be a sad day when he's not suiting up for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers anymore. But you got to get younger. You got to get faster. You got to get more exciting. You got to get guys that can cover. That's a problem. And there were so many people out there telling me and telling everybody, Savassi Dennis is the guy. Savassi Dennis is the guy that can really help you in pass coverage. But he really didn't do a great job last year. And especially with those running backs coming out of the backfield, he really struggled. You need splash plays at times. And we did see it throughout the career for Lavonte David, and really only saw it once the last year or so, and that was the game in Seattle where Sam Darnold threw the game-sealing interception to Lavonte, and he comes away with it, but that was very early on in the season. And Lavonte David, the last couple of years, at the end of the year, and I really thought he was done last year, because after that final game, the playoff loss to the Washington Commanders, watching him and watching a guy like KJ Britt be so emotional after the game, it's hard not to think that that was it. But one thing I laud Lavonte for these last couple of years when he's been signing 1 year deal after 1 year deal after 1 year deal is he hasn't made any rash decisions. He has taken his time. He's let the emotion of the season kind of wear off. And he's made the decision that's best for him and his family. Look no further than the decision that he's making today at 2:00. So, again, I can't say enough nice things about Lavonte David. A surefire Ring of Honor guy. Will he make the Hall of Fame? Maybe as maybe as like a veterans guy later on. I don't think he'll be one of the first dudes. If he does, this is going against a lot of kind of criteria that has been used over the years. And one thing that we learned, and Ian and I went over this many years ago on WDAE, what are the kind of what's the baseline? What's the standard? What's the floor of some of these guys? And what we kind of came to a conclusion after putting all of these different guys together is you kind of have to be a 3-time All-Pro player and a 5-time Pro Bowler. That was kind of the average range that we got to. And when you look at Lavonte David, he was a first-team All-Pro linebacker in 2013, a 2-time second-team All-Pro guy in 2016 and 2020. But only a 1-time Pro Bowler in 2015. And I get it. I understand when people are saying that it's a popularity contest and that it shouldn't always matter. But it does. It does matter at the end of the day. And that's why we got so emotional at times, when Antoine Winfield Jr. didn't get the notoriety and he didn't get some of the love for the postseason awards. Because at the end of the day, these guys don't remember. Everybody doesn't remember Lavonte David's every single play that he made. Yeah, here locally we do, but you need that love and attention from everybody around the country. So a lot of people will tell you he's a heck of a linebacker. Hell, I remember Luke Kuechly saying that to Ira Kaufman when the Buccaneers played the Panthers earlier this year, and they wrote about it on JoeBucksFan.com. But it can't just be the players. It's got to be the writers. They're the guys that ultimately are going to vote him in. And when you look at just the numbers of over 1,700 tackles, 42.5 sacks, 32 forced fumbles, 21 fumble recoveries, 72 pass deflections, 14 picks, and 3 defensive touchdowns, just off the top of the dome, you don't know. Numbers like that aren't as easily accessible as some of the other numbers in sports, right? Because you think of certain sports and you think of certain numbers, right? Just when you get to, let's say, hockey, 500 goals is a big one, right? 1,000 games played. For baseball, it's 300 wins for a pitcher and 500 home runs and 3,000 hits. Like, you remember those, right? And then you see, all right, how close are these guys? It's different in football. And especially at the linebacker position, you don't know off the top of your head how many tackles is, a good amount of tackles. And then you look at certain guys and you wonder, all right, well, Brian Urlacher, how does he stack up with Ray Lewis? How does he stack up with Luke Kuechly, right? You don't know. Those numbers don't come off the top of the dome as quickly. So it's going to be a tougher putt. if that's your argument for Lavonte David. When you're talking about tackles and sacks and forced fumbles, and look no further than a guy like Rondé Barber, where you had to make a similar type argument when it came to how his numbers compared to other guys at that position. But when you look at Rondé was a 3-time first-team All-Pro, a 2-time second-team All-Pro, and a 5-time Pro Bowler. So when I say the baseline of a 3 and a 5, Rondé had those, and you saw how far or how long it took for him to get in. I hope I'm wrong. Listen, this is one of those things where I love, it's not about me being right in a situation like this. I just want him to get in. But on a day like today, the main focus is, I think, Lavonte David and what his decision is for the future. And by all accounts, from what everybody's saying, it looks like at 2:00, Lavonte David will announce his retirement. We'll find out. Ashan, 54, is so selfless. He doesn't even want Derek's record. He'd rather tie it. I respect that. True buck for life. I don't think that's the major reason why he would retire or not retire. But I tell you what, kind of in concurrence with that statement there, I don't think Lavonte David would have any problem with that whatsoever. And to think that nobody in the history of the Buccaneers will ever wear 54 or 55 ever again, it sounds right. It certainly sounds right. Our guy, Honest Hammer, in the house. Sounds likely for sure. Sad day, though. LD54 is a low-key Hall of Famer. Yeah, and definitely a guy for the Ring of Honor. And one dude who was like, we're very fortunate to be able to be in the position here as a member of the media, especially in the Tampa Bay area, because you get some insight to these guys that regular fans wouldn't get, or guys that are not in that locker room. And one of the main questions that people ask me, like, Jay, what are the guys like when you're in the locker room? Because I think people want to know. You want to know what these dudes are like. And obviously my closest relationship are the guys with the Lightning, and being able to down there, sit down there in the locker room today, and Darren Radish was like, "Thanks for inviting me to media day." I'm like, dude, you were in Toronto, like, like, not to be, I didn't bring this up, but I think that was the day of his dad's funeral. But Darren's like, "Bro, I want to play a media day at the Valspar." I'm like, "Next year, bro, when you guys are home, we can make that happen. We could definitely make that happen." But like, he's just a big golf guy. And he was like, "Oh, did you have a good time with your parents?" And yeah, and JJ Moser talking about soccer, and Gage Gonsalves, and we'll hear from him in a couple of minutes here. But it's just, those are really good dudes. And Lavonte David is one of those guys that people would ask me, "What's Lavonte David like?" And again, I don't know. I saw Casey Phillips at the Valspar, one of the voices of our Tampa Bay Buccaneers. She does such an incredible job. The team reporter, we've had her on the show before, and her and I were kind of reminiscing and saying, like, we don't know the Buccaneers. She came in a year after me. We don't know the Buccaneers without Mike Evans. We don't know the Buccaneers without Lavonte David. And I've been here 20 years, so obviously I remember, like, prior to Lavonte, but I'm talking about media now. It'll be 12 years for me in June. In June, it'll be 12 years covering sports here in the Tampa Bay area. And I don't know covering the Buccaneers without Lavonte, without Mike Evans. And when people ask about Lavonte, he's one of the most soft-spoken guys that you're ever going to meet, and just the nicest, down-to-earth people. And he speaks after wins. He speaks after losses. And if you want to know what kind of guy Lavonte David is, and I thought this was kind of the perfect thing when you wonder about somebody's character. When the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl at Raymond James Stadium, there's a phenomenal video that was put out, or a phenomenal clip of Tom Brady looking for Lavonte David and the embrace that they had. Because let's not forget, it was ugly here early for Mike and Lavonte. It was early. I mean, it was ugly. Excuse me. It was ugly for those two guys. And Tom knew the impact that a win like that would have on Lavonte, just as a person. because you go through the trials and the tribulations, you go through the struggles. This team was terrible. And he was up in front of his locker after every loss, speaking soft. You got to get close to him so you can hear what he had to say. But Lavonte was one of those guys that was a true leader and a true captain and a representative and a pillar in our community. So if this is it, I mean, what a freaking career. What a career for a guy that is really the example of what a professional athlete should be. We'll see. 2:00 today, we'll find out. He has the press conference there at the Advent Health Training Center at 1 Buccaneer Place. Again, we'll be live here from the arena till about 1:15, 1:20, 1:30. I'm going to hop off, and then at 2:00, if he officially does announce his retirement, we will go live for an emergency podcast alert right here on the Jay Recher Podcast. Make sure you guys are following me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I'm everywhere. Andy Freed is going to join us a little bit in about 10 minutes or so to preview Ray's opening day. That should be fun. But we are here at Benchmark International Arena. The Minnesota Wild, they're still out there on the ice. These guys, it's going to be a good one. 7:30 tonight on TNT. Got a chance to catch up with my pal, Gage Gonsalves. And I'm always busting his chops about a bunch of different things. And, playing with Kucherov and saying, like, how versatile of a player is. So many people were speaking to Gage today. And when everybody walked away, I like to get, one-on-one conversations. I don't want to be in there with everybody else for morning skate just because you have time to do so. And he's like, oh, man, I'm going to be here till me and Ed walk over after everybody walks away. And he's like, man, I'm going to be here till 12 o'clock today. I'm like, come on, man, you're the most versatile guy on this team. You can play with anybody. So that's how we start the interview, the little one-on-one today. So here is lightning forward Gage Gonsalves after morning skate today on the team's strong play as of late and the greatness of the one and only Nikita Kucherov. Boom, boom, boom. Here you go. Gage, the most versatile guy on the team. What was the key for you guys to kind of right the ship there on the road trip?
I think, honestly, it was kind of our mentality. I think when we kind of got back to our defense first, leading that into offense and kind of our hound forecheck, kind of the two biggest staples in our game, it really helped everybody offensively. And, we weren't giving up as much. And when we did give up, there's going to be bounces every game. The Big Cat and Joe were there for us. So, it was kind of nice to, I wouldn't say find our game, but kind of get back to it, back in the road.
And just watching Cooch, obviously on his line, when you're not on his line, this guy was on an absolute heater, and then you're bringing up names like Gretzky and Lemieux. What can you honestly say about a guy like that when he go? And obviously, you guys are trying to find your game, and he plays as well as he does.
He's done it the whole year. He's done it every single night. It seems like he's the best player in the world for a reason, and works on his craft immediately hard. Everything is about him is hockey based, and it's a great guy to look up to, and we're going to need him to be like that if we want a chance to do a special thing this year. And there's no doubt that he'll be given 110% to get that done.
Coop always talks about that first game after a long road trip and the importance of making sure that you guys start, on time. What's the main focus going into the game tonight against Minnesota?
I would say just our little details, if we're defending first, it usually means we're leading to a lot of offensive chances, and, kind of, I would say try and stay out of the box early. I think that's kind of bitten us before the road trip. A lot of penalties in the first and getting behind. So, and it's fun in these days. They're top 4 or 5 team or whatever in points in the NHL over there. Right. So they have a lot of skill, a lot of grit. So hopefully it'll be a good one tonight.
Bro, I did not know this morning, or they just posted something about the Premier League teams. Did you guys see this? It was a video. I can't really play. I don't think I could play it on here, so I'm not going to do it. But they went around and they asked everybody's favorite Premier League team. I didn't realize that Gage and Pontus and Ali, all these guys, big Man United fans. I know Hetty was, and Moser, of course. And Moser starts with, first off, Arsenal sucks. And that dude's a Chelsea fan. Oh, that's great, man. I love that. I love that a lot. 50 jerseys on sale at the Bucks team store. Just snagged me and Lavonte David one. Good job. Make sure if you guys go to the Bucks team store, you look for Viv. A good friend of mine, Viv. She is the best. That's how Shelton Qualls was when I interviewed him. Very soft-spoken, but great guy. You got that right, buddy. Let's see. Growing up, I used to listen to Dick Irvin on hockey telecasts. Who were some of your favorites? That's a good one. I mean, I grew up on Sam Rosen for the New York Rangers. He was fantastic. Really the best. And he was so great to me when I got a chance to interview him. Did the audio sound better on that interview, guys? Because I got a new phone. So I bumped up to the iPhone 17 Pro Max, big dog. So I think the audio might be better. Was that just me, guys? I don't know. I never know. You never know. But yeah, Sam Rosen was my guy. And I like the guys here locally. It's tough. Like I did like sportscasters. I did like different guys throughout the years. I mean, Doc Emmerich was incredible for hockey. But yeah, Sam Rosen was my guy. And he did a lot of Bucks games as well. The audio did sound better, guys. Oh, okay. It's good to know. Good to know. We'll find out tonight. Listen, we'll find out tonight when I'm doing the John Cooper interviews because that's the one. We'll say everybody says the audio was much better. Good. I did not even think about that. I'm thinking about the oh snap. I gotta say yes. Sorry. I forgot to send. I gotta send the link to Andy Freed, dude. F9. I thought I was like good. I'm excited. I know the Bluetooth microphones are tough. I do have them, but it's the thing is that it doesn't always work. And like me, I'm doing it like this and doing like that's not easy. And those Bluetooth microphones, like if I put it on the table, like where John Cooper does it, it's not, I've done it before. It doesn't make that much of a difference. It really doesn't. It should, but it doesn't. It's one thing if I have an interview when I'm with somebody and I have two of them or I have them hold it, but I don't know. It just seems like the new microphone that I got on this phone seems good. So I'm going to rock with it. Yeah. So Andy Freed's going to join us here in a little bit, but the Lightning in a big match tonight with the Minnesota Wild and still out there. Some of their scratches. I like Minnesota and I've been as impressed with them as pretty much any team in the National Hockey League. And you know, when they're firing on all cylinders, they are just incredible. They've gotten really good goaltending this year. Making the trade in the beginning of the season to bring in Quinn Hughes was so smart. You still have Brock Faber. You still have Matt Zuccarello. You still have Kirill Kaprizov. You still have Matt Boldy. This is a really, really, really good team. And I know they haven't played their best since the Olympic break, but we see that with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Let's hope the Bolts don't give them an opportunity to kind of right the ship. I said this before, I guess it was last Wednesday or last Thursday. Even before that, looking at the road trip, what was the most important game? The most important game was that game on Saturday against the Edmonton Oilers. It's not the amount of goals that you score, it's the amount that you keep out. We've heard that so many years from the Tampa Bay Lightning, and defensively is the key. And that game against the Edmonton Oilers, even with Leon Draisaitl being out, you knew Connor McDavid and the guys that they have on that squad, you have to make sure that you're playing strong defensively. And that's exactly what they did. 2 goals or less. That's what John Cooper preaches. 2 goals or less. And that's what's going to help them win. Tonight is going to be another challenge because Minnesota is a team that can defend. They have some good goaltenders and they can score. The Lightning, when they're playing their best, and Pat Maroon has said this many times, the Lightning are at their best when they're playing predictable. And not predictable in the sense of the other team knows what's going on. Predictable in the fact of you're not going to give up any odd man rushes. You're not going to cheat the game. You're going to start by playing well defensively, taking care of the neutral zone, and getting the puck in deep and forechecking. A predictable game, an honest game. When the Lightning are playing an honest game, they are tough to beat. And it's great to have Nikita Kucherov and Braden Point and all these big-time scorers. I get it. But when you are sound defensively, that's what sets the Tampa Bay Lightning apart from everybody else. And, oh, yeah, it helps when you have number 88 in net. All right, baseball season right around the corner, and nobody better to break it down with than our guy, Andy Freed, Rays Radio. What's going on, buddy? How are you? Hold on, we're getting the unmute, and we got it coming. The unmute is coming. It's okay. You had it unmuted just now. It's coming. And I saw I think your son was in there before. It's all right, buddy. We'll get you. Hold on. Nope. Oh, the mic. We'll get in there. There we go. We got a winner. Oh, no, I can't. Hold on. Now I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Oh, wait. Nope, not yet. It's the youngsters. They're going to help us throughout here. Still nothing. Look for your input on your microphone, probably, buddy. I got faith. No, you're good, buddy. I got faith. They'll figure it out. It's spring training for everybody.
How about now?
We got a winner. Yes.
He
Good.
did it. Here's the genius. All right.
All right.
He's just coming off back surgery, but he's doing much better.
Oh, my gosh. Little man's gotten big, buddy. Holy smokes.
All right. Case.
Thanks.
My
pal.
apologies. I'm not.
No. So this is the great thing of live podcasting and live radio. You know, some of the theatrics. That's what makes it so great. Great to see you, my friend. And man, when we get to this point of the year, I'm just itching for baseball. How excited are you, man? What are these next couple of days like for you?
Well, I love when spring training starts, but I think I love it more when it ends. Because as enjoyable as that is, there is something to be said for the dog days of spring training, and you want to get back to real games where strategy is being used and where you can align your bullpen and you're going for platoon matchups and just the normal competition. The energy gets pumped up, and I just can't. I think the thing I'm looking forward to the most is getting back to Tropicana Field. You know, that my son, who you just saw, just happened to be taking video of the last out in 2024 when he was at the game. The Rays beat the Blue Jays. And I've been watching that over and over again thinking, my gosh, it's the second year, you know, without being there. We haven't been there since 2024. So I think the whole notion of this season, at least at the beginning for me, is coming home. Now, that being said, I'm not overlooking this first road trip. It's an important road trip against three very different kind of teams. The Cardinals are in rebuild mode. The Brewers have lost some pieces, but they're the defending best record in the National League. And then the Twins, who had, if you remember, a slight exodus towards the trading deadline of last year and probably aren't predicted to do a whole lot. But then again, neither are the Rays. So I think we're going to learn a lot about this group in the first week and a half. But then the same sort of thing with opening day. I love when it comes, but I love when it ends and you can get to the meat of the season. And then, you know, you get into streaks, you know, hot streaks, cold streaks. A player starts slow, it gets hot, vice versa. So all of that. And then, as you know, Jay, you know, baseball is probably more than any other sport. It's a lifestyle, and it's something that's there every single day, not just twice a week or once a week in some cases. So I think it's something you try not to ride the roller coaster with, but, you know, 30 minutes after a bad loss or after a big win, you feel like it's a referendum on the season, but it really isn't.
Yeah, I've said for many years that baseball is the heartbeat of America, right? It just keeps on going. Whether you go 0 for 4, 4 for 4, you got to wake up the next day and just do it all over again, because it doesn't matter. And that's what a lot of people can really relate to in this country. If good day at work, bad day at work, you got to wake up the next day and you got to punch the clock again. I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, Andy, this team needs to get off to a fast start and just kind of, you know, we've always heard you can't win the division in April, but you certainly can lose it. You kind of fall behind. How important is that fast starter? Just being able to kind of just stay in there, because it just seems like this is an AL East where you look at, you know, we know what the Yankees bring to the table. I think there's a kind of renewed optimism there in Baltimore. you never know with the Red Sox. They could be a first-place team or a last-place team. And then, oh, yeah, how about the team that represent the American League in the World Series last year in Toronto? How important is that strong start for the Rays?
Well, I mean, it's you'd like to always start off like 2023 and go 13-0. That's the greatest start ever in Rays history, and one of the longest, if not, I think, tied for the best streak to begin the year in the history of the game. But that being said, I don't know if again, I don't think it's going to be a referendum 2 weeks into the year. I do think, though, that this first trip, though, you do get two teams that are in pretty clear rebuild mode when you look at the Cardinals and you look at the Twins. Now, the both have some talent. The Twins might be ahead of where the Cardinals are, but I'd sure like to come back from this trip plus 500. I know that because there's something to be said about teams that are rebuilding or teams that aren't supposed to be good. You don't like to play them early because they don't know they're not good yet. So that might be what happens, with the Cardinals and the Twins. And look, the Rays aren't being predicted to be very good either. So I do think that you can gather momentum and you can start to get confident as a group. If they get off to a good start, boy, that's for sure a heck of a lot better than getting off to a sluggish one. Coming off, that's Captain Obvious, I realize, but coming back under 500 would be a bummer for me. I'd like to see this team come back 5-4, maybe 6-3. Wouldn't that be something if they get off to that sort of a start and start building momentum? I remember, and I go back to this because it's the extreme year, but 2008, I remember thinking if they're a 500 group, then that's great. We had never been at 500 at that point, and they got off to an 8-11 start, and that wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of something. 2011 they got off to an 0-6 and 1-8, and ended up making the postseason. So, you'd like to get off to a good start, but I don't think it's going to be determined by April. What this team, there's so many new players on this team. There's a lot of new people, so I think it's a team that could gather momentum as the year goes along.
Speaking of those new faces, Andy, who are some of the guys that stick out to you that you're just really excited to see them suit up for the Rays this season?
I want to see how the veteran pitchers do, because if Matz and Martinez could somehow combine maybe for 15 wins total, I think that would be great. I was disappointed to hear that Ryan Pepio is going to start the year on the injured list with right hip inflammation, so Joe Boyle comes up. And can Drew Rasmussen do what he did last year? And then the one that we're all on the edges of our seat for is Shane McClanahan going to be Shane McClanahan again? You would pardon him if he's not an all-star caliber pitcher from the very beginning. Now, he certainly looked like that in spring training, and it whets the appetite. But like everything else, it ends up coming down to health. Whoever is healthy by the end of the year usually are the teams that end up winning. Because most big league teams have a path to get to postseason these days. Except for teams that are in such clear rebuild modes, like the Nationals and the Rockies and the Cardinals, perhaps, and the Twins. But that being said, if you get on a good run, I mean, look at Cleveland last year. The Guardians were done, and the Tigers were running away with the division. And then in the last 3 weeks, it completely flipped. So it's hard to tell by the end. I mean, you think of right now, April, all these games and this road trip seem important. By June, it'll be like, what did we go on that first road trip? Yeah, I forgot. So you forget real quick. The Rays weren't good last year until they got hot towards the end of May and were really good until July, and then it fell apart. I think the guy I'm most excited about isn't even on the club yet, and that's Jacob Melton. I really want to see what the Rays got because they gave up something for him. Not just Brandon Lau. That one I expected. I was surprised they traded Mason Montgomery. I thought that he was a guy that could really, and still may be, a really top flight reliever with two excellent pitches. I don't think that kid knows how good he can be. So I think that was a good get for the Pirates. So for the Rays to get that up, give Mason up, along with Brandon Lau, who had a lot of value, and to get Anderson Brito, but more importantly for the moment, Jacob Melton. I want to see Jacob Melton get off to a good start with the Durham Bulls and have him get up here and see what he can really do.
Yeah, he can definitely be a game changer. You could just, the pop off the bat is just incredible. Andy, do you think that the guys that played in the World Baseball Classic can kind of parlay some of their success and some of their experience to the regular season? We saw Randy Arozarena do it a couple of years ago, and I was just, one of my biggest takeaways from the World Baseball Classic was Junior Caminero and his leadership. I mean, he was the guy putting his arm around his idol, Manny Machado, and some of these other guys. And, you know, he doesn't have near the experience of a Vlad or any of these other dudes. And, you know, that kind of stuff is organic. Andy, you've seen it as much as anybody. Like, that's not him trying to be somebody else. That's just inherently the type of guy he is. Do you think, I guess, Junior specifically, do you think he can carry that, you know, to success and the experience to the regular season?
One thing I know is that he's going to try. That cares, and he cares a lot. And when I say kid, I mean he is a young 22. He won't turn 23, I think, until July. When I saw what he was doing in the clubhouse at the World Baseball Classic, I was like, huh, that was pretty interesting. He's the one giving pep talks. He's the guy telling the veterans, if it's an optional work day, you show up. That was really impressive. That takes some nerve. Now, the thing is, you can do that if you're a star player, and he seems to be a star in the making. You can't really pull that off if you're not a really, really star type player. The fact that he could do that after a 45 home run year tells you that in the eyes of Albert Pujols and Manny Machado and all those really great, exciting stars for the Dominican, that's who Junior is. Why am I forget? I'm blanking. Who had struck? Fernando Tatis was on deck.
Yeah.
Tatis was on deck, and they could have added on, and Junior was right in his face. I mean, holy moly! So we may have a star on our hands here. And actually, he may, and this is pie in the sky here, but he may end up being the biggest star that the Rays have ever had. You know, Evan was certainly a superstar player, in particular for the first handful of years, all-stars all 3 years. But I don't think that stuff came naturally, and he wasn't a loud player. There are times when a player needed to hear it. You remember when B.J. Upton, Evan got in his face after a fly ball. So I think behind the scenes it was there, but Junior's comfortable doing it in front of the scenes. So I don't know if we've ever had a player quite like that. The fact that his jersey outsold Ohtani's and was the number one jersey sold during the World Baseball Classic, we may have a star in our hands here.
Yeah, you bring up a great point with Longo, because Longo would get out there early. He would go out there with Tom Foley. He would field his ground balls. Like, he kind of went about it in his own way. He wouldn't go necessarily out of his way to talk to people. Not that he wasn't talkative or gregarious in any way. That just wasn't his personality. Junior, he could run for mayor of Tampa, you know, when all's said and done. And I'm with you, man. I think he could go down as the best Ray of all time if he stays on this trajectory and they're able to kind of hold on to him. And we know, you know, that's, you know, part of the conversation as well. How excited are you to see the new ownership group and to hear all this new stuff about a stadium? Because obviously it's something that, you know, we know with the extended lease now for a year because of the storms. I mean, that's part of the conversation as well. I mean, we want fans to feel excited about this club going forward, but we also know that now we have a new ownership group. It's a new era for Tampa Bay baseball this year off the field.
It is, and I hope that the Stu Sternberg era is remembered as the era that put this franchise on the map. The Namoli era was there, and it was important because it got the franchise here. Stu took over the team with his group and made this team relevant, because they were not a relevant team when I got here in 2005, and they really weren't until 2008. And he fostered an incredible culture and made this franchise the envy of many other franchises. He changed the game and how teams can be built, because when I got here, it would have been laughable that the Devil Rays could ever win a division, and we've won 4 of them. So I hope first that Stu Sternberg's era is remembered as a very successful era. The one place where it fell short was getting the new stadium. And I don't really have a whole lot to add. I mean, I know they're working very hard to get all these things done. Right now, my focus is how exciting it is to be back at Tropicana Field, whether it's for 3 years or whatever it ends up being. You know, I don't have control over those things. I want what's best for the Rays, and I want what's best for our community. So I think those things are ultimately the same thing. And let's get this thing done, and let's stop having it be something that hangs over the franchise. So hopefully that era will be gone before long. But I'm excited about the new group. I really enjoy the energy of Ken Babby very much. It's infectious. And I really like him as a person so far. I haven't had a whole lot to do with meeting the other ones yet, but I'm sure I will as the season goes on. They're pretty busy right now. So I'm pulling for them like everybody is, and let's get this thing done. And the one thing, though, I'm finding interesting. And I wondered if this would happen at the end of last year when we got the year done in Steinbrenner. You know, Tropicana Field has taken a lot of hits from all over the game and all over, you know, the dome can be a punchline sometimes. Unfairly, I think, because it mostly comes from people that have never been there.
Right.
That being said, I'm really happy about the love that Tropicana Field is getting right now. I've never heard it. This is going to be the biggest opening day since the first one in 1998. People are excited to come to Tropicana Field. I remember at Fan Fest, you know, their Tropicana Field was looming over our shoulders as we partied on 16th Street, and how many fans were saying, I can't wait to get back in there. That's the way I feel. I've always loved going to Tropicana Field.
Yeah.
Hopefully for just the next 3 years or whatever it's going to be. I just cannot wait to get back in there and be in a major league ballpark again, in air conditioning, where you can keep your schedule as it is, regardless of the weather. And I look forward to. I think that first homestand is going to be thrilling against the Cubs and against the Yankees. That's going to be a heck of a way to kick off Tropicana Field Part 2.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. I think there was a little bit of, oh wow, we should probably be a little bit more grateful on a 1:00 start on a Saturday. You're right. Like, it was like, yeah, I think we should be enjoying the Trop a little bit more. And man, whether it was the World Series, whether it was the Akinori play, you know, I remember the relay from center field, you know, to get Altuve at home in the game against the Astros, like just to be there and to feel it, like there was chills down my spine. I still, like, the hair stands up on my arms when I think about that type of stuff. I'm excited. And you never know, Andy, like you've been saying, sometimes the best years kind of come out of nowhere, right?
Rays have been at their best when they're not predicted to do well. And that's,
right.
You know, the years that they were really thought that they were going to be really good. 09 was a disappointment. 14 was a big disappointment. And then 19, they weren't thought to be a playoff team out of the beginning of spring training. And it began a 5-year run. I think it's going to be very important for the Rays, not just to be back at Tropicana Field, but teams did not enjoy playing there when the Rays were good. The Rays did. I think Joe Madden called it the pit. The Rays need to get a home field advantage again. And that got away a little bit in 24. And certainly in the playoffs in 23 it did. Teams need to be uncomfortable playing there. I'm a little concerned, probably because it's my nature, but you know, a lot of the Rays players, they have never played at Tropicana Field. Chandler Simpson's played one exhibition game there. You know, other players, the new players, haven't. Now, they were able to go in and take some ground balls and take some fly balls because there's still cranes around. They're still getting the field ready. It's 2 weeks or so, a little less than 2 weeks until the opener. So I'm curious if they can get comfortable with it. You know, the roof, I haven't been back. But the roof, from what I understand, isn't fully bleached out yet. So there are some panels that have not been fully bleached white by the sun. And I heard Cedric Mullins and some others say, who have played there before, that it's actually a little bit easier to track fly balls right now because there's a little bit of a better background. But what often happens when other teams come in that haven't played there, or players that haven't, they have a hard time in the beginning. And I hope the Rays players can get acclimated. And I would think that they would, because they'll get a chance to play there and, you know, starting next 2 Mondays from now, and be there every day, and that newness will go away. But it needs to be back to a place the Rays win 50 games at home, if not more. That when that happens, the Rays are going to make postseason.
What do you think about Cedric Mullins? I mean, obviously we saw some of his best years there with Baltimore. The numbers have dipped a little bit, but man, if he can kind of rediscover the magic, I think he could be a really potent guy in the kind of middle to the bottom of that lineup and play pretty good defense too, Andy.
That may be the one guy I'm looking forward to meet and getting to know this year more than anybody, because I remember when he first came up, he was a switch hitter. That people may forget that. He was a switch hitter, and he was not a real power hitter. He was a guy that would lay down bunts and utilize his speed. Within a year or two, he completely turned it around. He gave up switch hitting, went back to being just a left-handed hitter, and developed power. Now, I don't think they need him to be the MVP candidate that he was in 21, but they would like something a little closer to that than what it has been the last year or two. I think attitude-wise, he's fantastic. You know, he was there. He has seen a lot in this game. He was with the Orioles when they were terrible. He was there during the rebuild, and he was there when they got good and learned how to win. So I think Cedric adds an awful lot. And the Rays are going to need some other hitters. You know, Yandy Diaz, Jonathan Aranda, Junior Caminero. Those guys are probably my 3 least worries for the year. Those guys are going to hit. there needs to be some other guys. There need to be some protection in the lineup. Mullins, if he has a good year, he makes a big, big difference in this group. And defensively, too, he's a very good center fielder. And I'm also curious to see his impact on Chandler Simpson, because Chandler obviously is a very important player on this team, too.
Andy, what do you think about the shortstop position? We know, obviously, with Taylor Walls being out, Carson Williams, the announcement today that he's made the big club. I thought it was a little surprising to me, and I understand, they wanted some marination there in AAA, but this guy's the shortstop of the future. I'm one of those people that really do value Taylor Walls because of not just a great glove, but an elite glove, one of the best in the game. But I think at some point, Carson Williams really has to kind of take that step forward to really solidify kind of what this team is going to look like with the infield, right? You think Aranda and Yandy, and then Lux when he gets better, and then Carson Williams and Junior Caminero. But we're hoping that that's supposed to be the infield for the next 5-10 years or so. What do you have to say about kind of the shortstop position and what you expect to see from Carson?
Well, the Rays have developed Carson differently than most. In fact, I think any other player that I can remember, in that they brought him to the major leagues last year knowing that he was not close to a finished product offensively. In fact, he probably wasn't ready to be a major league hitter last year. Knowing his makeup, knowing that he could accept failure, and a bit out of necessity, too, because they had lost a bunch of shortstops and they need someone to play it. So that's an organization really knowing what's between the ears of a certain player, that they thought he could handle that. And he came up and he probably provided more than they expected. 5 home runs in a short amount of time. But he hit 172 and he struck out a lot. Knowing and that they would have to make some adjustments. From what I understand, Carson put in not only a lot of work this offseason, but really has developed as a hitter and has cut down on the strikeouts. Now, he'll probably always, or at least for the foreseeable future, be a guy that does strike out a fair amount. When you have a power hitter, you're probably going to have a guy that swings and misses sometimes. But I thought his at-bats in spring training were really good and very mature compared to what we saw last year. I remember asking Joe Madden once, how did you know that you could put David Price into that situation to win the pennant in 2008? He had been in the big leagues for 6 weeks? And it came down to the fact that the organization knew him well enough. And they knew that he could handle it from a maturity standpoint, that he can handle the moment. I get the sense that the Rays felt that with Carson Williams also last year, that he could handle that moment. He could handle that inevitable failure, that first trip to the big leagues. And he had a little bit of everything. He had some failure. He had some success. Defensively, I think they always knew he was there. And I don't think he'd be here right now if he wasn't ready defensively. But offensively, yeah, it's going to be a work in progress. But at the same time, I think we've seen him tap into some things. And if he can cut down those strikeouts a little bit, the ball jumps when he makes contact. And I think we've learned that he can deal with the inevitable, as everyone does, failure at the big league level. Because the game is, I say this all the time, the game is based around failure. Outs is what moves the game along. Everyone's going to fail. The stars of the game fail over and over again. It's how you deal with it, and it's how you keep that inner confidence that allows you to succeed. I think the Rays feel that Carson Williams has that.
How about the catching position, Andy? What are you looking for from that spot?
The position that has dogged the Rays for as long as I've been there, and maybe even before. I've been really excited about what Nick Fortes has done behind the plate and next to it. Fiducia is a work in progress defensively, and I'm a little bummed that he hasn't hit better, at least in spring training to this point. He didn't have a great offensive spring training. I do know he's working, and he's working to get better. I'd love to see that be the tandem throughout the year. I know in the organization they're excited about Caden Bodine. I don't know how to say his name yet, the guy they got from the Orioles. Dom Keegan, they're very excited about. Nathan Floelling, a guy that they're very excited about. 3 catchers. They also have Kenny Piper, a guy that'll be a AAA this year and could be a fill-in if needed. But I think those are the main 2 for now, Fortes and Fiducia. I'd like to see Fiducia make a step forward. I think Fortes, we know what he has. He's a good throwing catcher, and he's hit. He's hit more than a little bit in spring training. Fiducia needs to get better defensively, and I want to see him hit a little bit because with the Dodgers, he was known as an offensive first catcher. We haven't seen that yet, but whatever they can get out of it, look, we're not looking for all-stars out of catchers for this organization. Looking for guys that can handle the pitching staff, that can help control the running game, and whatever you get offensively is kind of gravy. But if they could hit a little bit, I mean, if either one of those guys hits 240 with being a threat at the plate, where if you make a mistake, they might put it over the wall. I think that's what you're looking for, and you can get it.
Andy, before I let you go, I got 2 things real quick. before Mark Topkins' article, have you ever heard of the Stephen Matz sandwich?
No, I never have.
I brought that up to Topkin because it's at the Seaport Deli, which is literally 5 minutes from my sister's house on Long Island. And he goes, oh, and then he put it in the article. I'm like, yeah, buddy, it's an amazing sandwich. I can't wait. And Ozzie Timmons coming back. I saw Ozzie in the offseason, and I said, Ozzie, are you going to be doing any push-ups? He goes, Jay, I have retired from doing push-ups. My shoulders can't handle it anymore. How great is it to have Ozzie back there with the group?
Well, if Junior hits 45 home runs, to put the assistant hitting coach on the injured list. But which, by the way, I don't know if it's fair to expect 45 from Junior. I'd be thrilled with 30 this year by Junior Caminero. I think Ozzie Timmons is such a great addition. And Corey Dickerson back also, I think, has already had a pretty good impact. But we love Ozzie. And I've run into him at Lightning games before. I know where you are today, Jay, and I've bumped into him at Lightning games before. But Ozzie's great because he has a great attitude. He's very wise as a baseball lifer, and I think he has an ability to connect with players. So I really look forward to seeing him on a daily basis, and I will not hold it against him if he doesn't do push-ups.
I will, because I've known Ozzie for a long time. I'm going to tell him if you have to drop 10 pounds so you can get the push-ups again and they can pour the sunflower seeds on your head, that's what we got to do. Andy, thank you so much. Andy Freed, Rays Radio, Neil, Chris, and the whole crew. Cannot wait, man. It's just such an exciting, I feel like, America and life gets back to normal when baseball season is underway. Andy, so always appreciative of your time and the kind words. You are the best, my friend. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.
My pleasure. Happy baseball to you.
Yes, sir. The one and only Andy Freed. He's the best. He really is, man. And I've said this many years when I've done my broadcasting stuff and done play-by-play for USF. I reached out to Rich Hollenberg. I reached out to Dave Mishkin. I reached out to Jeff Ryan. I've reached out to Dave and Andy, and they helped me out so much. And we are so blessed. People ask me a lot about the players here locally. And what do I tell you guys? The best part of working in the Tampa Bay area is not the players. It's not the games. It's not the events. It's the people that we work with. And Andy Freed is one of those guys, top of the list, consummate professional, one of the smartest guys you'll ever meet. And again, our show is a whole heck of a lot better when he joins us on the program. So thank you, Andy. You are the man. And just like what Buckin 0220 says, Andy is the best. You got that right, buddy. All right, make sure you guys follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Make sure you're hanging out and following our guys, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, for all your residential and commercial needs. 813-244-0956. Hammer is a Team Tampa Bay guy, just like you, a USF grad. And when you're working – when you're doing work on your home, right, you want to make sure that you trust the people. You hear all of these scary stories about contractors and, you never hear from them again. It's not just your house. It's your home. And a guy like Hammer, I trust. He's one of my guys. He's a friend of mine. 813-244-0956, thehonesthammer.com. You can email him, thehonesthammer@gmail.com. And listen, tell him that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast and get you a discount. And, of course, EverHealth, everhealth.org, 17 different locations in Pinellas County. They do just an incredible job helping people. It's the new form of healthcare, the sliding scale for the uninsured. They take any kind of insurance. And, nowadays with healthcare being such a hot topic of conversation, you want to be able to work and you want to be able to go to a place that they're going to take care of you. Our EverHealth Injury Report every Thursday with Dr. Carlos Rodriguez, you feel like when you listen to Doc, like he's such a great dude. Like that's how it is there at EverHealth. I go there myself. So everhealth.org. Again, tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. What a great guest Andy Freed is every single time to talk Rays baseball. Will I be streaming the Lavonte presser? No, but I will be going live at 2:00 if he does, in fact, announce his retirement today. Jake can get into investigative journalism by tracking down no-show contract companies. Got any leads, Hammer? Yeah, I mean, that'd be, again, instead of doing that kind of stuff, just avoid that from the beginning and just go with Honest Hammer Custom Builders. They can help you out. My guy Vince, need to replay this conversation about failure to all of our players. I love that. You're totally right, Vince. And that's what really sets people apart in baseball. I remember having a friend when we were growing up playing baseball, and he would say something to the effect of like, man, you guys get out a lot. And I go, yeah, man, this is no joke. Baseball is a game of failure. You have to learn how to deal with it. And mentally, that baseball's, you talk about the physicality of some of these sports and the emotion and the psychology, and I understand that, but baseball's completely different. It's a completely different mindset. You can't let it get to you. And I was talking to my dad about that with golf, and you see guys and they're so upset about a read and then they miss an easy putt, and it's like you could see that happening. I remember playing tennis growing up, and it was me being such a team sports guy. You could always be, a good teammate, and you can always do little things to make your team successful and add and contribute to the success. But tennis, it was, if you don't get your head out of your ass right now, you're going to be in big trouble and you're going to lose. And you had to find a way to kind of pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get right back into it. Baseball is a game where you have to have such a quick, you got to let it go. You got to let it go. You can't get all jumbled up when it comes to the umpiring and the officiating and bad calls and getting hurt or striking out or hitting the ball hard. And you can't, you got to let that shit go. It's wild, man. It's not for the faint of heart, and it is not easy. You have to be so mentally tough to be a baseball player. And that's part of the reason that some guys aren't successful. It's not the physical mistakes or the physical shortcomings. It's the mental shortcomings. It's not letting it get to you. It's understanding that it's a long season. And if you have a stretch where you go 1 for 15, you still have to believe. It's like that shooter's mentality in basketball. You got to stay with it. All right, obviously the big news today is the press conference at 2 o'clock today with Lavonte David over at the Advent Health Training Center at 1 Buccaneer Place. All signs pointing towards Lavonte David calling it quits and retiring after a stellar 14-year career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, could it be something different? Could he be announcing that it's a farewell tour for a year? Possibly. But you just don't see that kind of thing very often. He could have done that on Instagram, right? He could have tweeted something out. So, again, we're going to sign off here in about 10 minutes or so. And after that, after I'm posting everything and taking care of everything, we'll come back at 2 o'clock if he does announce his retirement and go from there, because this is a big story and we'll do an emergency podcast to discuss that. I will be watching the Lavonte presser live on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers YouTube channel, and they go from there. So, again, for those asking what the shoe game is tonight, here, boom, 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 rocking with the pink. Buck, LVD is not the type of guy to make a big deal and have a presser about coming back. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. That's why I don't think it's going to be like that. I'm just trying to kind of give you every aspect of every different angle. Was Mike Sannino the last good catcher the Rays had? Probably. Yeah, Espo's going to love those. Yahoo! My guy Marco in the house. Those shoes are fire. Appreciate you guys, buddy. Oh, yeah. We have my coach, Pat Russo, for Hit Factory USA Scout and Tampa Catholic. He is tied for first right now when it comes to the Jay Recher podcast bracket. And, we're keeping an eye on that because the winner gets a segment on the show and a free large cheese pizza from Alfonso's. You guys know how much I love Alfonso's. Marco and Brittany, the crew over there, go check them out right there in the plaza on the corner of Bears, Florida. You can't miss it, right next to the barbershop. Go there, check them out. Something you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Boom. It is getting cold in here because it is every single time I'm in here. It is freezing. Lightning in action tonight. 7:30 puck drop. Make sure I got everything coming here. 7:30 puck drop tonight here from Benchmark International Arena. Lightning and Wild. First time seeing Quinn Hughes in person since the gold medal winning U.S. hockey team. And I look back at that U.S. hockey, and we had this discussion with Ian yesterday on the program. Beckles and Recher podcast tomorrow, live from the Dignitary Cafe. that U.S. hockey, and there was a good story written by Greg Wyshynski on ESPN about Jack Hughes and how his life has changed and how he's acting different, and not in a bad way, but just it changes your life. And again, I hope that in this life we find more ways to be celebratory and find ways to bring people together and be happy about things. There's so many things in this country that divides us, whether that's religion or politics and all these different things. Like, sports is the ultimate unifier. It's the ultimate, like, hey, you may be different than me, but let's come together and support each other, and let's fight together for a common goal, for lack of a better term. Let's find more ways to do that in life outside of sports, right? Take that extra trip, go that extra mile, find a way to win the day, right? Be a good freaking person, spread good vibes, because I think the more you do that, the more good vibes come to you. I'm a firm believer in that. Did I ever work with Joe Smith? Yes, I have worked with Joe Smith in the past. Joe Smith of The Athletic. He's actually here today. Obviously, a former writer for the Tampa Bay Times. He was with The Athletic. Now he's with The Athletic covering Minnesota hockey with Russo, with I can't think of his first name right now. Michael Russo, excuse me. They got two Athletic writers up there because Minnesota, the state of hockey. So Joe Smith here in the building today at Benchmark International Arena, ahead of the big one, 2 nights, 7:30, Lightning, Minnesota Wild on TNT. We'll have Julie Stewart-Binks joining us on Friday this week. Obviously, 7-game homestand. The first of 7 tonight, back in action Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then next week on Tuesday and Thursday as well. We'll have Eric Erlinson joining us tomorrow. We'll have Dr. Rodriguez on Thursday, Ed Encina on Thursday, and we'll have Brian Schaefer joining us on Thursday from the Tampa Bay Rowdies, a USF grad who has been phenomenal for the Rowdies so far this season. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't get called back from FC Cincinnati because he's that good. But we'll see. We'll see. What are JSB's plans after Gabby comes back? April 15th, I think, is JSB's last day here, but we'll find out on Friday. She posted something on social media the other day about, not really knowing, and there's kind of this is kind of a freedom and a happiness that comes with not necessarily knowing what that next step is, and I'm with you. I totally agree with that. Craig in Vegas, what's up, pal? Is this JoJo's last season with the Bolts? Maybe, Craig, because I tell you what, I was thinking about this last night. I was thinking about some of the backups that the Lightning have had over the years, whether it was Louis Domingue or Brian Elliott. It's been really rough for JoJo this year. And trust me, I've had these conversations with backups before. Curtis McElhaney years ago. It's so tough to not know when the next game is. You can have a plan, you can have an idea, and even when you do know, it's tough to be sharp. It's not for the faint of heart. I think JoJo can actually start. He's a guy that's better when he's playing a lot. Other years, I think he's done a better job as the backup. I think he's struggled this season. And he's really struggled in the beginning of games. And you can't get too far behind. Because as John Cooper likes to say, you want to keep it to 2 goals or less. And when JoJo's in there, I'd hate to look it up, but his first periods just haven't been good. And the Lightning have just been trailing and trying to fight back from behind. And that's just not a way to win. As a casual soccer fan, Antoine Griezmann coming into Orlando is pretty cool. Another huge star in the state. You got that right, buddy. You got that right. Antoine Griezmann, who's had some incredible success, pretty much more for Atletico than anywhere else, and of course for France on the national side. But Antoine Griezmann coming to Orlando to play with them, huge. The more guys that can come over here, the better. And I'd love to see Casemiro come over here after his time is done with Manchester United. Does he play for Miami? Does he? Probably not, because that's a lot of the Barcelona guys there in Miami. But does he go play for LA? Does he play somewhere else? Man, that's the big thing. I know I was talking about this with my dad the other day. It would be so big if the Rowdies could get into the MLS. You'd have to build on Al Lang, or unfortunately you'd have to move and you'd have to go to a bigger stadium. You'd need a capacity at least 25,000 to get that to happen. But man, there's a fan base here for it. And if you're telling me that Tampa could get old guys from the Premier League here in their 30s, like to get a Casemiro or Antoine Griezmann, that would be huge. That would be so freaking big. We'll see. We'll see. I think that's the next step. We want to continue to build. I've had a lot of people reach out to me about my comments yesterday about USF and about sick of being a stepping stone. And that goes for everything. That goes for USF. That goes to the Rays. That goes to the Rowdies. I want this city looked at as a top 5, top 10 city. No doubt. There's no reason why it shouldn't be. I love it here, and I know a lot of other people do too. So let's continue to push. Let's continue to fight for more teams and more attention to our Tampa Bay area, because the sky's the limit. That is for sure. All right, that's going to wrap it up for me, guys. Again, I'm going to take some time. 2:00 today, we'll find out for about Lavonte David. If he does in fact retire, we will go live right away, right here on the program, and we'll talk about it all. Follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe as well on YouTube. A big thank you to Honest Hammer and Evra Health, and as well as Andy Freed for joining us on the program. Guys, make sure you continue to kill that like button on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Kill that like button. Like and subscribe. Donate via the super chat. I could not do this without you guys. Back in action at the home studio tomorrow, and then back here at the arena on Thursday. We'll see if you see me at 2:00 talking about Lavonte David, but we do know for sure tomorrow at noon right here on the J. Recher podcast. I'm gone.